Um, Hi everyone, welcome to tonight's webinar. My name is Samantha Vergara. I'm an analyst with the City of Milpitas, and I handle our city's water conservation programs and projects. And I will be moderating the webinar tonight. Again, we're going to be covering how to design a water-wise landscape, and our instructor tonight is Shelky Tao. And this webinar is being sponsored by the City of Milpitas as well as BOSCA, which stands for the Bay Area Water Supply and Conservation Agency. And before we get started, I'll just go over some guidelines for participating tonight. First, all attendees are going to be muted by default. This is just so that we can reduce the amount of background noise that comes in during the presentation. And we will be stopping periodically through the presentation to allow you to ask questions. We highly encourage you to ask any questions as they come up, as they'll probably be very helpful for both you and other members of the audience. And there are two ways that you can ask questions today. You can either raise your hand, and this will let me know that you have a question. And then I will ask you to unmute yourself so that way you can speak to us and let us know exactly what your question is. We'll probably be using this feature more towards the end of the presentation when we have our designated Q&A session. But if you have questions that come up during the presentation, you can type them into the Q&A feature, and then, like I said, we'll stop periodically, and then I can read these questions out, and then Shelky will help me address those. And if you miss out on any information tonight and you'd like to go back and rewatch this webinar, the webinar is being recorded and it'll be made available to you at a later time. I will be sending out an email to all of our registered attendees with the link to the recording, as well as some of the resources that we cover tonight. So with that, let's just get into a quick introduction of BOSCA. BOSCA, again, stands for the Bay Area Water Supply and Conservation Agency, and they are a special district that represents 26 agencies, including cities, water districts, water companies, and a university, all of whom purchase wholesale water from the San Francisco Regional Water System. And BOSCA's member agencies provide water to over 1.8 million people and over 40,000 businesses and organizations across Alameda, Santa Clara, and San Mateo County. And the core goal of BOSCA is to provide a reliable supply of high quality water to its member agencies and its constituents at a fair price. So in order to meet this goal, BOSCA provides a regional water conservation program to its member agencies. And while we've done many different things over the past decade to increase water use efficiency, there's still a lot more that we can do to improve. And one way that we can do that is by looking to our outdoor landscapes. Outdoor water use represents the single largest untapped opportunity for water conservation within the entire BOSCA region. And BOSCA supports its member agencies in addressing outdoor water use by encouraging the use of water efficient plants and low water use irrigation techniques. And if this is something that you're interested in, there are lots of different opportunities and rebate programs available to help you kind of get started with this goal. If you're located within the BOSCA region, some of the rebate programs that are available include the Lawn Be Gone turf removal rebate. So you can get up to $4 back for removing your traditional turf and instead putting in native and drought tolerant plants as well as sustainable landscape materials such as mulch. They also offer rebates for installing rainwater catchment systems such as rain barrels. As you can see, you can get up to $200 back for installing one at your home. And there are also other rebates for putting in efficient irrigation equipment. You can also get rebates back for putting in a smart irrigation controller or installing a rain garden in your yard. If you're located here in Milpitas, we have very similar programs as well. Through the landscape rebate program, which we offer in partnership with Valley Water, we offer rebates for again, converting your turf over to a drought-tolerant landscape. You also have some incentives available for installing rain barrels, cisterns, rain gardens. We also do have a rebate for putting in a laundry to landscape gray water system, so that way you can divert water that's used through your laundry straight to your landscape. There are also a couple of free programs available, such as the residential and commercial irrigation surveys. And then you can also place an order for free water conservation items, such as low flow shower heads, faucet aerators, universal toilet flappers through the online shopping cart. And if any of this information interests you, you can find it all compiled at savewatermilpitas.org. And then here are a couple other great ways to save water in Milpitas. If you're a resident, you can sign up for the free Water Smart customer portal, which is a really great tool for getting a better understanding of how you use water at home. It gets real-time information from your smart water meter and can let you know when and where you're using water, and even let you know of any potential leaks or suspicious water use. And then another really important way to save water in Milpitas is to report water waste when you see it happening. So this could be something like seeing broken sprinklers going off, seeing irrigation systems turning on during the rain, or at the wrong time of day. And you can report these issues to us by calling our water conservation hotline, which is listed over there, or reporting it through the My Milpitas app or web tool. If you're located in the South Bay or in Santa Clara County, there are also rebates available to you through Valley Water's landscape rebate program. They cover very similar areas such that as Bosque and Milpitas. So you can get rebates for doing lawn conversions, switching out inefficient irrigation equipment, or putting in gray water systems. Here are some resources that are available to you if you are interested in switching over to a water-wise garden. There are a few clips here that you can watch with some information on the benefits of sustainable landscaping. Let's skip over this slide. And if you enjoy the webinar tonight, there is one more for this fall winter series, which is happening on December 13th, and the topic for this is going to be rain gardens. If you're interested, you can find some more information about the class at bayareaconservation.org, and you can even register for that as well. And with that, I would like to introduce our instructor, Shelky Tao. Shelky Tao is a landscape designer and the founder of waterefficientgardens.org, which is an online landscape design service. Shelky is sustainability driven and promotes the use of water-wise and native plants in her projects. And prior to launching Water Efficient Gardens, Shelky Tao has worked in the Silicon Valley for over 10 years in the tech industry. And she also holds a certificate of achievement from Foothill College for environmental horticulture and design. And she also holds an MBA from the Anderson School at UCLA. So with that, I will stop my share and then I will allow Shelky to get started with her presentation.
Thank you, Samantha. Let me share. Can you see my slides?
Yes.
Hello, everyone. Happy to talk about water-wise landscape design tonight. Okay, so these are the main items we are going to talk about tonight. What is water-wise landscape? Why should we do water-wise landscape? How do we go about design such a water-wise landscape? And then some Q&A time. So what is water-wise landscape? So I'm going to show you a couple like yards, and then you can tell which ones are water-wise and which ones are not. So as you can see, this is along at the backyard. And then we change that to the landscape on the right. So which one do you think is water-wise and which one is not water-wise? So this is yard 1, yard 2. So before it's along, after it's the new landscape. Yard 3. Yard 4. And yard 5. So this one, it's also along, but the owner just stopped the water, so it turned yellow, but it was along. So these are the 5 yards we just looked at, right? So what are some of their differences is, first and foremost, it's the plant. For the before landscapes, it's just along, all green grass. So the plant, it's grass versus many native plants and Jautaran plants. It only has one color, only one color, which was green, the lawn. But then the water-wise landscapes or the new landscapes had many different colors. It attract many different pollinators. The new yards are all covered by mulch, as you can see. And then most of them have some kind of rain capture features, either a rain garden or a dry riverbed. And the irrigation, that's another big difference too. For the lawn, it's sprinkler, but then for water-wise or the new landscape, it's a drip irrigation. So these are the key elements that make a landscape water-wise. So we can go back and check and look at these elements. So as you can see in this new landscape, all the plants are either native or Jautaran. We use drip irrigation for every plant. For the lawn, it was all the sprinklers. It has a rain garden. So as you can see here, this one is connected to the downspout here. So during the rain time, the rain water will just flow into the rain garden and then go soak deep down into the soil. And then you can see there's also a path. So it is totally permeable. So when it rains, the rainwater will also just soak into the soil. So these are all the key elements that make the landscape water-wise. So the kind of landscapes we want to design are these kind of water-wise landscapes. They are water efficient, they support biodiversity, connect us to nature or all kinds of native plants in the nature, and it is a joy for us. If you look at these landscapes, so these plants are all native plants, and then here there's a rain garden here. Here you can see it's a big dry riverbed, and then all the plants are native plants. Dry riverbed is pretty much just like a rain garden, not exactly, but the main functions are very similar in that during the rain time, it can absorb a lot of the rainwater and then prevent the runoff. And that rainwater captured can go back into the soil and replenish the groundwater. So it can really help improve the health of our water system. Here, this is a dry riverbed, and here we can't see very well, but actually this is also a rain garden, a small rain garden. And all these plants are native plants. And then this deck path, it's also permeable. Here, all the plants are native, except this fruit tree. Here is the rain garden. It's connected to this downspout. When it rains, all that water that falls on this roof will go down this downspout and flow into this rain garden and water all these plants here. And these plants, as you can see, are blooming very beautifully. That these plants can become a habitat for the pollinators. So that's a big benefit for the rain garden. It can take full use of the rainwater and then grow the plants, which can become the habitat for the pollinators. Here is one more such water-wise landscape. So all these plants are native. This is a succulent, so not native, but majority of them are all natives. This you can say is a small dry riverbed. Actually, there's a rain garden here. We can't see very well, but the rain garden is on this side, and then the dry riverbed on this side. So to summarize, a water-wise landscape, it's a landscape that use climate suitable plants or native plants that's use the mulch to cover the surface, so that if you reduce the evaporation of water, that's another way to make it water-wise. It has rainwater capture features, such as a dry riverbed or a rain garden. And the irrigation method is drip irrigation. So why do we want to do water-wise landscape? First and foremost, we can save a lot of water. In California, the outdoor landscape watering accounts for half of the total water usage, half to 60%. So it's a big chunk of the water. And that water, a big part of that comes all the way from Sierra Nevada, because we don't have that much water on the west coast here. We rely on the water, the snow melt in Sierra Nevada. And it's from a very extensive, huge network, such as the State Water Project, to carry all that water, like hundreds of miles from Sierra Nevada all the way to us here in the Bay Area. And that takes an enormous amount of energy. So when you think about it, right, that's all the snow water travels hundreds of miles, but then we use over half of that just to keep the lawn green. That just doesn't make too much sense. That water can really be saved for much more essential use. So one question is, why do the lawns need so much water? There are two reasons for that. One is that the grass, the plant for the grass, they are normally high water use plants. To keep the grass green, usually you need to give it 1 to 1.5 inches of water every week. That translates to about 4 to 5 inches of water every month. But in here, in our climate, we just don't have that much water every month. So as you can see, this is a precipitation chart for the city of Milpitas. So as you can see, if we use the grass or the lawn needs 4 to 5 inches of water every month, no month throughout the whole year can meet that demand. So that's something decided by our climate. So then all this gap, especially in summer, when we don't have any rainwater, then that's why we just need to give the water, give the irrigation water to keep it green. That's all the water that go in here to fill the gap. The native plants, on the other hand, they are adapted to California's dry climate and can deal with this kind of like dryness very well. So you can see this is silver lupine. I took this picture like in about April. And as you can see, it's such an arid rock. There's no water inside, but it not only thrives but also blooming so brilliantly. So that's how adapted it is to survive in this kind of like dry environment. So you can, between this lupine and the grasses, then you can see why the grass needs so much water, but then our native plants can do really well with just very, very little water. So the native plants, just like that lupine, they are totally adapted to our cycle of the water. Right around this time, November, December, when the rains start to come, then they will just burst into growth and bloom. Some of the plants, like the ribes here, like the manzanita here, and the golden poppies. And then when the rainwater declines and also goes into almost nothing in summer, then a lot of them will stop the growth, and a lot of them will go into dormancy. That's their mechanism to deal with the dryness until the rainwater comes again around this time. So they can totally just use whatever is available and do not need any additional irrigation water. And that's how we can utilize that to achieve our water-wise target. This year, this is a super bloom, a picture of the super bloom this year. So last year, because it was a very wet winter, after all that rains, then all these native plants, they just burst into the bloom in spring. So no one ever went out there to water them, but then just by the nature water, they will just grow and bloom like this. So it just shows you how resilient, how tough these native plants are. And what we can do is, all we need to do is to plant the same native plants in our yards so that they can do the same magic in our yards. So some of the projects, we looked at the water bills before and after. So for this garden, the total household water usage was half after the landscape was transformed to the water-wise landscape. So it's total household water usage. So if you consider the indoor water use basically keeps the same, because the water that you use for your basic life needs are pretty constant. Then all that 50%, actually, you can imagine mostly will come from just outdoor, the new landscape. So for the overall to reduce to 50%, the outdoor, the landscape, the saving must be something like 70 to 80%. So that's how much water this kind of landscape can save. This garden actually was also featured on the utilities bill in the city of Santa Clara. This is another example. This is the before and after. And the water usage, this is also the household water usage reduced by 56%. So again, if you assume the indoor water stays the same, then the contribution from the outdoor must be something like 70 to 80%. So this just shows us by doing the 4 things we just mentioned, right? Use native plants, putting a rainwater feature, cover with mulch, and do drip irrigation, we can achieve a significant amount of water saving. I often hear the question about what's the difference between native plants and Jiaotaran plants? Okay, so what is native plants? Native plants is the plants that are native to here, that were here before the Europeans first came. That's my teacher at Foothill College told us. So any plant that were here before like the 15 something when the first Spanish people came here, that we can say those are native plants. Jiaotaran plants, as its name indicates, it's Jiaotaran. It uses very little water or just a low water use plants. So which one is better? Are they the same? So we can talk about, we can look at this chart. So this is a Western rabbit. It's a native plant. And this is an Eastern rabbit. It's not native. If you go to New York, you might see quite a few there around Central Park. So both are Jiaotaran plants. But then Western rabbit actually is extremely Jiaotaran. For a Western rabbit, which is a native, as we talk about, it really doesn't need any extra water. It will just take whatever is available from the rain and can do well and survive and grow. But then the Jiaotaran plants, which are not, these are non-native plants, as you can see, even though they require less water than a lawn. For example, they only need half as much, 2 inches per month, but they still need that much water because they do not come from our local environment. So during the summertime, when there is no rain, then we still need to give it irrigation water to fill this gap. So from the water saving perspective, water-wise perspective, the native plants still will do better or much better than non-native Jiaotaran plants. So from this perspective, we should still, as much as possible, we should still try to use the native plants. There is another huge benefit of using native plants is that it can attract, it can support the local wildlife, and with that have the very big biodiversity benefit. So for these 2 reasons, we should always try to go to the native plants as much as we can. These are just 2 of many photos I took in the gardens that I designed. So every time when I went back to visit one of those gardens, without fail, I can always see at least one or many times multiple types of pollinators, butterfly, native bees, hummingbird, or that other kinds of bird. These wildlife, they have coexisted with the native plants for hundreds of thousands of years. They know each other very well. Their systems evolved to adapt to this kind of plants. If the plants are not native, then these wildlife, they don't have the system to deal with that. So they can't take that as food. And then without these insects, and then the birds and the other wildlife on the top of the food web, the pyramid food web, do not have food as well. And with that, the whole pyramid will pretty much shrink or even collapse. So that's how important the native plants are, and how important they are to our biodiversity. Globally, we are experiencing biodiversity crisis. So in North America, we have declined, that has declined by 33%. And then in the last 50 years, since 1970, we lost 3 billion birds, or about 1/4 of all the birds. That's a very alarming state. Globally, there are about 38 biodiversity hotspots. So to be a hotspot, it needs to meet these 2 criteria. First, it needs to contain at least 1,500 species that you cannot find anywhere else on Earth. And it must have lost at least 70% of that native vegetation. So that means it needs to be abundant, right? But then unfortunately, it has lost 70%. So it is pretty much in a crisis mode, and we need to do everything we can to avoid that fate. So California is one of the hotspots. As you can see, most of the states and a little bit Oregon and Mexico, we call that California Floristic Province. So it's one of such hotspots. So on the one hand, we do have many plant species. Actually, California is the state that has the most plant species than any other state in the United States. But on the other hand, we also have lost 70% of that. So we really, that puts another, that's another big reason we should really try to use as much native plants in our gardens as possible. On the West Coast, we call it the Western monarch butterflies. The population is down 99% in the last 40 years. The only way to save them is to plant their host plants as much as possible. The narrow leaf milkweed and the showy milkweed. The monarchs can only rely on those 2 and a couple other native host plants. They cannot use any other plants. So to save our monarchs, then it's pretty much down to every one of us try to put in a couple native milkweeds in our gardens. So that's exactly what I did. So in this garden, I designed a bunch of the native milkweeds, the narrow leaf milkweeds. And as you can see, the monarchs did come. So I just went back and visited one time, and right there, I saw this monarch butterfly right on the staying on top of the native milkweed. And this photo was taken by the homeowner. So it's a really good thing, right? So once you're putting the the native milkweeds, then the monarchs will come. So it's a very rewarding process. These are the couple other photos I took in the gardens that I designed. Another benefit of the native landscaping or water-wise landscaping is that it can capture and reuse the rainwater. So during the rain time, if we don't put in features like a rain garden or a rain barrel or a dry riverbed, a lot of the water will just run off and just flow out to the ocean, and we just lose that amount of water. And sometimes it will even have it will even become the hazard of the flash flood, and it will just do a lot of damage. But if we can just capture all that rainwater with such a rain garden, such hazard will be the threat will be greatly reduced. So a rain garden is just something like this. It's a shallow area connected to the downspout. During the rain time, that rainwater will just flow into the rain garden here. You will put in some compost, and then the water will just soak down, and then you will just plant some plants in the rain garden. So the plants will go well. The water will just go back down into the soil, and then recharge the groundwater down under. So this is a rain garden right here. So you can see this is a shallow depression here, and then the water just flow into this area here during the rain time. So this is a small, let me see whether I can, okay. So there's a bee here. Sorry, it doesn't play, but there's a bee here. So so that's the habitat that's grow out from this rain garden. So a rain garden can really do all these good things at the same time, capture the rainwater, grow a habitat, and then that will protect our wildlife and biodiversity. Let me try again. Sorry, did not play. There are many other additional benefits. A beautiful garden, everyone loves it. If you add curb appeal, increase the property value. It is by two researchers, it is estimated that by having a beautiful garden in the front and back on your property, it can increase the property value by about anywhere from 5 to 13%. And when you try to sell the house, the time to sell is also much faster than without a beautiful landscape. It can also boost our mental health and increase human health by just connecting with nature, watching all the wildlife. That kind of connection, it's proven to increase our health, mental health, and just make us feel the pleasant, feel good all day. Okay, so that's all the benefits of a water-wise landscape. So let's talk about designing such a landscape. So the first step of designing is that you can try to map out your area so that it doesn't need to be complicated at all. You can just use a pencil, just draw down like approximately your yard, the location of your house. So here I just did a very simple example. Suppose the house is right here, and then this is the front yard, this is the sidewalk, and this is the path from the sidewalk to the house. There's the tree here. This way is north, so this is south. So first step, you just try to draw down something like this to know what the area to design is. And then the second thing, you try to find out what's the sun exposure to the yard. Is it full sun all day? Is it half sun, half shade? Which area is the hottest and which area is in shade. So for such a yard, this area will be hot all day, but then this area, because it will be in shade in the afternoon, then this area will be in shade and not as hot. So these are the basic information we can use when we try to pick plants. The second thing to find out is that where's your downspout, because that's how we find out whether we can design a rain garden and where to put such a rain garden. So so just go to the corner of the house and see where that is located. For example, if the downspout is right here at this corner, then you can just put something there to indicate that's the downspout. Another piece of important information is to find out what type of soil you have. There are three big types of soils, sand, loam, and clay. You can do a simple test to find out which one the soil type is. You just put a little soil on your palm and add some water, make it a small clump like that. And then you put it between your fingers and try to squeeze it. If this ribbon can be more than 5 centimeters, more than 5 to 7 centimeters, then likely it's a clay. If it can barely become a ribbon or very short, then it's sand. Anything in between, that's loam. So that's something also important, very important to find out. Some plants, they cannot stand the clay soil. Some plants, they cannot stand the sand soil. So it's this soil type is important to help us find out which plants to pick. After you know such basic information about your yard, then it's about you. What are your primary goals and how do you want to use the new landscape? For example, for this project, the homeowner wanted to have a beautiful garden to add a curb appeal. And he also wanted to be able to walk around his garden. So to have such a wide path for him is important. So that's so that dictates how we design this this garden. For this homeowner, he wanted to have a nice place to have breakfast, to read papers. So that's how we designed this small sitting area here. And then you can see 2 rain gardens here. And all these are the native plants. So it achieved all the, has satisfied all the needs, a nice sitting area surrounded by the fruits, native plants, and then a rain garden, which is also adds to the view. So you can write down all your needs or wants, and then put that in a list so that you can go back to when you try to design. Some people have dogs, so you also would like to write that down so that, say, if you want to have a separate area for it, then you can do that when you are actually designing. Garden styles. So there are quite a couple garden styles. On my website, waterefficientgardens.com, we have 8 garden styles that you can select from, like rain garden, native plants, tree and shrub, and then pollinator garden. A lot of them overlap, but still each of them will require slightly different plants. So that's the garden style step. You can, one way to find out, just welcome to go to my website and just look at the garden style quiz, and it's just like 3 very basic steps, and then you just pick the garden styles, and then it will ask you which plants you like, and then at the end it will send the result to you so that you know which kind of like garden styles you like. So these are the 8 garden styles: succulents, veggie bed, veggie gardens, dry riverbeds, and then boulder gardens. Then we come to this very important step of selecting your plants. Now, the plants, as we talk about, they should do well in the specific spot with the sun exposure, the soil condition, the garden style, and so forth. Plants, there are 5 or 6 major types. You have tall trees, and then shrubs, perennials, annuals, and ground covers. For most of us, the majority will be shrubs and perennials, with a couple trees, 1 to 2 or 3 trees. Trees are extremely important for us. They can add attractive view. They have very strong biodiversity benefits, can absorb carbon, so help us combat climate change, can reduce the heat island effect in the hot summer time, can reduce the flood hazard because their roots can help stabilize the soil, prevent the soil erosion, and then we can have a huge health benefit. The green color can calm us down, can make us feel present. It just will boost our mental health. This is an example to show you how much biodiversity benefits a tree can have. For coast live oak, it is confirmed it can feed 41 different types of insects, and likely 122. So altogether, it can feed something like 170 different types of insects. While eucalyptus, it's less than 5. The cream myrtle, actually it's 0. So eucalyptus, it's from Australia. It's not a native. The biodiversity value is really low. In San Francisco, actually, the city even tried pay people money to take the trees out. But trees like coast live oak, the benefits are huge. So to the point possible, if we can plant more such trees, it will just help us big time for the biodiversity. So these are some of the native trees. The western redbud we just talked about, the common manzanita, the flannel bush, and the valley oak. So valley oak and coast live oaks oak are both native oaks in the Santa Clara where we are here. We also have many very attractive shrubs, native shrubs. So here are just some of the examples. Bladder pot, the coffee berry, ceanothus, sagebrush, the monkey flower, and silver lupine. As you can see, they have very attractive flowers of different colors. They can all do well. They're all very good native plants. So we can just, when we design, we can just pick the ones we like, the flower color, the ones that can work with the garden style that we pick. Then we can also fill out the space with perennials, like the common yarrow, the coyote mint. The leaf can be used to make tea. I once did a project. The homeowner specifically asked me to put some coyote mint in the garden because he wants to make tea out of it. Seaside daisy, and of course the poppy. So we have a long list of very attractive shrubs and perennials that we can just pick and use for our garden. Some of the design principles, I list some of them here. So first, aims to cover at least 50%, 50% of the space. Actually, that's also a requirement if you want to receive the rebate from Valley Water. Say if your lawn is 1,000 square feet, then after you transform that to the new landscape, then all the plants, when you add them together, then they should be at least be 500 square feet or 50% of that 1,000 square feet. How do you get to that 500? Then, for example, the common manzanita, the coverage, I believe, is 79 square feet. The Western Rabbit is 38 square feet. So you just add all these percentages up, the numbers up, and until it reaches that 500 number. That coverage is provided by Valley Water in that plan list. Right plant at the right place. It's mainly about the sun exposure. Some plants, they just need full sun. Some plants, they can only take shade. So that's almost one of the most important factors to consider when you design or pick plants. At the rain garden, we talk about this. Put a tree in the garden. It really can do the environment so much good. Consider the flowers and then a good combination of different heights and colors when you pick the shrubs and perennials. Prioritize plants of high biodiversity benefits. Like the monarch butterfly native, the native milkweeds that I mentioned, those are of very high benefit, biodiversity benefits, in that they support the monarch butterflies. So those are the plants that we should prioritize. Easy to walk around, so build a simple path around it, so you can walk around it, enjoy the plants. Also easy to maintain, and then make the hardscaping permeable. Don't put in concrete. It's not permeable. If you put in a path, do something like this, flagstones or decomposed granite. These are all permeable surfaces, and easy to work, easy to walk. So a very high level process. We just have what we call is a base map. And then we can start to design the first at the rain garden. So from the downspout, I will just put a rain garden here in the front, and then putting a small dry creek to connect with the downspout. And then I will add a tree. So I can pick the tree from any of the trees that I mentioned, and then I like to see it, and you can also add to keep my privacy. So I will decide to put it right in front of the window here. And then I will just look at the shrubs and perennials and pick the ones of the colors I like. I like blue color, so I will just pick a bunch of the ceanothus, and then and the lupine. I also like pink, so I will just pick something like the California fuchsia, and then I also like white. Then I will pick the common yarrow, and so forth. This is an actual project that I did. It's a HOA yard. So as you can see, this is the lawn. In the middle, there's this olive tree. So the homeowner, she wanted to change this into a native landscaping. But because it's a HOA property, all the plants, the height must not be over 2 feet tall. That's the height that are allowed. But only here next to the window, taller plants are allowed. But right here in this lawn, no plants of more than 2 feet tall can be allowed. So these are the main goals or limitations. So with all those in consideration, so I also asked her to do a style quiz, and she picked out which gardens she liked, and then from all these plants, this is a plant list that's provided by Valley Water. So as you can see, some of the plants, they have very big coverage, like 177, and then you can see whether they are native or not here. So based on all these factors, one thing to know is that the sun is the analysis about the sun exposure. So as you can see right here, the front part, it has very good sun exposure, but back here, because of the tree, it's shade most of the day. So when we select plants, then we need plants that can take full sun here, but then pick plants that can take at least part shade here. So with all those analysis, then we pick the plants that can meet this kind of conditions. I picked the bush anemone. These are the tall plants to be on each side of the window, but then all the smaller plants to fill out here in the long area. So that's the design, how the design came about. There are a couple very useful websites that you can use when you design a native garden. Calscape.org, that's the go-to website for anything native plants. So it has, I would say, all the California native plants on this website, and it has a very robust search function. You can search by anything like color, height, sun exposure, soil type, If you just select any filters, and then it will just provide you the list of plants that meet those conditions. So calscape.org, it's the go-to site to research native plants. Dr. Talami, he's a professor at University of Delaware. He's the biodiversity guru for native plants and wildlife. So you can, on YouTube, you can search for his talk, Nature's Best Hope. After you watch that, you will really understand the connection between the plants and trees and the wildlife like birds, and why we should do all we can to put native trees in our yards. I highly recommend it. It's a really good talk. Going Natives Garden Tour. It's a tour that's held every year in the springtime, April. So during the tour, you can just go to all these 20 or 30, even 40 gardens in different areas and get to see all the different native plants and how the gardens look like. It's really like the best opportunity to really see so many native gardens all at once. I highly recommend it. You can register now, and then when it comes, when April time comes, then you will receive the email and the direction and address to see those gardens. San Francisco Botanical Garden, they have a dedicated California native park. So there you can also see many native plants, a lot of which you might not be able to see in our neighborhood. But there you can see many different types of native plants. So it's a very good place to go find out how all these different native plants are like. UC Berkeley Botanical Garden is another one. Actually, UC Santa Cruz as well. So both gardens have a dedicated native section and a very good place to learn about native plants. Here are my contact information. You are very welcome to contact me and ask me questions about design, about native plants. I've been doing this for 6, 7, 8 years now. Have quite some experience designing it. So we'll be happy to answer your question and give any help that I can offer. Thank you.
Oh, awesome. Thank you so much for your presentation, Shelky. And with that, we can start the Q&A session. I don't think we got any written questions during the presentation, but if anyone has questions, feel free to submit them through the Q&A. You can also raise your hand, and then I can allow you to unmute yourself, and then we can answer questions that way. And again, I will be sending out an email once the recording of this webinar is ready, and I will include the resources that Shelky just shared, as well as her contact information. So if you have questions that come up in a few days or so, you can send them over to her that way as well. So if anyone has any questions, please feel free to send them. Shelky also did mention a couple of times during the presentation about the plant lists for the rebate program. I believe Bosco also has one as well, so I will include that as an attachment to my email. And okay, so there was one question from Kathy. Is there a source of plants that are particularly suited for small lots? so many natives grow too large?
I think the perennials will be great for that, because most of the perennials, they stay pretty small, so will really do well in the small lot. Some of the shrubs also actually are not too big as well, so some of them can also fit in well. But I think perennials will really do good in such a small space.
And like Shelky had mentioned in the plant list that we'll be sending out, um, the plant coverage of the specific plants are included on there, and those take into account how large they're going to be when they're fully grown. So that might be another resource to look at as well.
Yeah, that's a very good point. Also in Calscape, they also indicate how wide, how tall and wide the plant will be. So that's also a good source of information.
If there are no more questions, I'll give it another minute or so, but um, if there are no more questions, we can end a little bit earlier today, or and again, if anything comes up after we end this webinar, I will be providing Shelky's contact information. Shelky, do you mind sharing the screen one more time,
Sure.
just in case? Because I know that my follow-up email may come out in a few days after the recording is available, but
Mhm.
I can also send just a really quick one as well. Just sharing your contact information in case there's anything that's kind of immediate that comes up, and then the full follow-up email will come most likely next week.
Yeah.
So cool.
Yeah, you can also check out waterefficientgardens.com, and
Mhm.
you can do the style quiz there.
Okay, I don't see any additional questions, so thank you all for joining, and again, thank you, Shelky, for that really awesome presentation. Oh, there is one question. Oh, someone's just saying thank you. Thank you, Molly, for sending that in. But yeah, I think you did a really great job. It was very thorough. You went over all of the benefits, and um, how to do the process of designing. So awesome job. Thank you so
Thank
much.
you. Thank you very
And
much.
all right. With that, I will go ahead and end the webinar. Thank you guys so much. Have a great rest of your night. Cool.
Thank you. Bye-bye.